Leanne over here. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. All righty. So Alan asked me to come and talk today. I don't really have anything prepared, but I'll just kind of talk from my heart. I work for a company that's absolutely amazing. They involve all of their employees in everything they do. So anything that you usually see from WestJet, whether it's a commercial or a project that they're putting on, it's always WestJetters involved because we care, obviously, as you see that. I'll start with a story that kind of leads me to why I work for such an amazing company. Did everybody see the Christmas campaign that they did?
Awesome.
Yes. Okay. So WestJet put on. For those of you that didn't, you should definitely look at it. WestJet. There. Can you still hear me? Okay. I'll just talk. So WestJet put on this video that basically they asked people what they wanted for Christmas, just kind of as a platform. And then when they arrived at their destination, they actually had their gifts coming down the baggage belt. So instead of
My friend won the socks. Sorry.
Pardon me?
That's my friend who won the socks.
Yay! So along with all of like the big gifts, like the TVs and the electronics and stuff that people received, people also won trips. And shortly after Christmas, I was in Starbucks in Calgary, and I was just waiting for a friend to come visit me. And I actually was sitting beside a couple, and they were talking to another couple about how they were on a flight from Hamilton to Calgary, and they got a trip from WestJet. So instead of using the money they were going to spend on that trip that Christmas, they donated that money to a family whose daughter was sick, so they could take her to Orlando to see Disneyland or Disney World. And a few weeks later, that girl actually passed away. So when I look at the actual impact of a company and what it has on its people and what we can do to our guests on the plane and what they push forward, I think it's just absolutely amazing. So that's why I work for WestJet, and I believe everyone needs a why for why they work for a company. I'm not in tech, and I think women in tech is awesome, even though I know absolutely nothing about it. But that's why I work for the company that I work for. We have a lot of amazing stories like that, and if you ever go on our website, you can see that. A lot of amazing stories where people get on our plane and you can make a huge difference in their lives, and that's what I try to do. My job has a lot of women in it. Definitely a huge percentage of what I do as a flight attendant has a lot of women in it, and I get to work with amazing women every single day. Like I said, I don't have a lot of stuff prepared. Does anyone have any questions about anything that I do? I mean, it's kind of an interesting company. Who flies on WestJet often? Yay! And does anybody have a bad WestJet story? Okay, I want to hear it.
Brendan and I were flying back from Buffalo, but we actually drove from Buffalo to Hamilton.
Okay.
And it was like storming. And it's not a bad story in regards to WestJet, because you guys did an amazing thing. But as we were taxiing from the terminal towards the runway to take off, the pilot must have been taxiing a little too quickly because he went to hit the brakes in order to make the left-hand turn, and he just skidded right off the end of the access road into the snowbank. And of course, Hamilton Airport's not YYZ. No. They're not really well prepared for however many people are on a 737. So we proceeded to sit on the plane for probably what, a couple hours? 2 hours. And the seatback television gave us all of your social media channels. So Brendan and I naturally pull out our mobile phones and we're just kind of picking up what these conversations are happening on your Facebook page. And we're being well informed by the pilot on what's happening. Like, hey, we're trying to get you guys off this plane, but the airport's ill-equipped. And yet we're seeing people on your Facebook page talking about how we're stuck on the airport, the runway crashed, blah, blah, blah. Really overstating the experience.
No, that never happened.
And yet your social media people back probably at headquarters are like, we're really sorry, we're fixing it, we're all over it. And then a couple more people just kept trolling on this. And anyways, Brendan and I were like, this is bullshit. They need to be told that everything's actually okay, and we're all just bored. And so then we were on there, we're like, I don't know where you're sitting on this plane, but I'm in 7C and everything's just fine. And they took care of us. We got in a taxi cab.
Well, they brought the buses in from Hamilton. That was the problem.
Yeah, city buses, all to the airport.
Stanley Rock on the runway. It's against the rules. Apparently. So
yeah, it was pretty, anyway, so it was certainly a disruption to our trip home, but WestJet on their social channel, and I always tell that story because it's like, in our world, it's about listening to your customer. And you better make sure that if they're telling the wrong stories, that you try to correct it. If they're telling the good stories, you try to amplify it. So I'm doing a little self-promotion of VendAsta here as well.
That's good. No, that's, you know, that's actually awesome. Anytime something like that happens, because I think we've had 4 actual airlines that have went off the runway at WestJet. Like, and it's a big deal. Like, when something like that happens, that's a huge deal. So for you to actually be a part of that, I think that's awesome. I wish I was a part of it.
I just wanted to pop the door open and have that slide blast out.
You want that to happen. I want that to happen. Take a beer and go down the side. I want to do that a few times. What about good experiences? Anyone had a good experience in WestJet?
I just want to say I'm responsible for a tiny person who is now 3.5, but when he's a baby, I flew him to Calgary, and it was awesome.
It was
You guys
awesome?
are always awesome with kids. So.
Yeah. Did you see the WestJet April Fool's video about cargo kids?
No. Oh, yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of people who want that to be real. After that happened, people thought that was real. Does everybody know about the cargo kids? Every April Fool's WestJet puts out a funny video, and we did this thing where we're going to check your kids out of the plane. And their business travelers were very, very much wanting that.
Pay extra money to ride on that.
I would too. I'm all for more pets and less.
I think your whole seat. He's 2 years old, man. It was the whole seat.
Exactly. Yeah, that's good. That's awesome because sometimes people who fly with their children don't have great experiences. So that's really good. Anybody else? Good experience?
Yeah, I just heard.
I have.
Who's over? Somebody over here?
Oh, I thought you were funny. I used to fly WestJet with my last job, tons and tons, and the flight attendants are always the best. And this one guy, he hung out by our seat quite a lot because we were having a lot of fun. And when I told him I didn't like the cookies they were serving, he actually went back and found a bunch of cookies that they stopped serving on WestJet flights, but there were some leftovers. He brought me 2 big barf bags full with all the flight attendants signed it. And usually if you ask for liquor and they're locking it up, they'll give you liquor candies and things.
We had liquor candies. That's an awesome story. You know how easy that is for us to do? I know it might sound silly, but I love that it has that big of an impact because when I'm on a plane and I do something super small for someone, we only serve mint and black tea. I don't know why. I think it's stupid. I've written it up many times. But I keep green tea in my bag all the time anytime someone asks for it. I get them theirs out of my lunch kit, and people write me kudos all the time just for green tea. For me, it's nothing, but for people, it means everything. So I like stories like that. That's awesome. Anybody else? Good story?
I have a partial story. Does WestJet do direct Puerto Vallarta?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Okay, so I'm university students coming back from Puerto Vallarta one night. I left my textbook on a plane because I thought I'd read it during my flight, and I didn't. I forgot about it, and I got off the plane, and I realized my final was 2 weeks later. And I, to this day, haven't found my textbook, but that's kind of my fault. But I think it's kind of hard to go back and check seat pockets. So customer service was good, but tracking down the plane and where the book was impossible, but I could have done it myself.
That was 2 weeks later.
Oh, I called like 3 days later, but
3 days. Books are tough.
Yeah.
People never come back for books.
yeah.
So somebody might have, yeah. No, I'm sorry about that.
Oh,
I'm really good at whatever
That's
subject
a
you had. I
great
can Anybody else? Anybody else? Yes?
So I've gone to India for about a month to get my permanent residency, and I was returning from there. It's a 20-hour flight and all the way here. And I landed in Calgary, and I had a booking for like a 7-hour flight, 7 o'clock flight on WestJet. And it turns out that the individual who had booked my ticket had booked it for the previous day. So technically I had missed the plane. And but the gentleman at the counter basically he booked me onto the next flight, and he gave me a premium seat for my token. So that was pretty good.
That's good. So that wasn't too long ago then.
No, it was like 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah. Just came up with our premium seating. Something that was a huge, obviously this past year WestJet has gone through a lot of change. We just went through, we used to have just one base, which was Calgary, and then everybody else, you could live in any city you want, such as myself. I used to port out of Saskatoon. I've lived in Calgary for quite a while, moved back here, and we port out of Saskatoon. Now we have 3 bases across Canada, which is awesome. We're just starting service to Dublin, Ireland, going into Europe, and I don't know if any of you guys have seen lately, but we're putting in some bigger airplanes. So there's so much expansion happening. We have a small airline. Like I say, bigger airlines, but a lot of, like I said, a lot of women that I work with are amazing, smart, brilliant women. A lot of them are university degree holders. A lot of them are retired policemen, nurses, people that do amazing jobs, and I'm privileged every day to work with such amazing people. And I'm so happy that you guys let me come speak to you today. Anybody wants to talk to me after, they're more than welcome to. But as for this cold, I am going to Mexico tomorrow for work. I will be on the beach here. That's what I'm going to be doing tomorrow.